And so, yeah, God's interested in the journey and the process more than the destination and the outcome often
Hmm.
in our lives.
Hmm.
And that's a very different way of thinking. It's countercultural, isn't it? Like we don't think like that in culture at the moment. Everything's a race to arrive, like you say. But actually, if the point of life is not to arrive at the next thing, at the next thing, at the next thing, but it's actually to become more of the person God's created us to be, then it gives you a different perspective.
Welcome to Book Therapy. I'm your host, Kim Patton. There's no way to count how many books are floating around in this world. Some are decent, some are truly terrible, and some are great. Today we're going to take a deep dive into one great book. Together we will discover gems of truth and encouragement to help you as a foster and adoptive family raise kids from hard places. You're ready, I'm ready, let's get this party started. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Book Therapy. Today I have a special guest again. However, this one is extra special because she has an accent. I'm telling you, it's beautiful, it's fun, it makes the episode unique, and I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive into the book. Today we are talking about Sand Between Your Toes by Anna Kettle, Inspirations for a Slower, Simpler, and More Soulful Life. And I have the privilege of welcoming Anna all the way from England. It's afternoon for her, morning for me. Thank you for coming, Anna.
Oh, thank you for having me, Kim. It's great to be on the show.
I can't wait for my listeners to just soak up your accent. They're just going to love it. They're just going to eat it up.
You know what? You can just be like a normal British person, a normal English person, talking in a normal accent that's very plain and ordinary here, and every American loves it. It's so great.
We love it. We love it so much. It is just the best. So, this is going to be ear candy for all my people.
Cool.
So the book is Sand Between Your Toes, and I will kill to have sand between my toes right now. Like that sounds amazing. I think
Hmm.
anytime you're in a season of life where things are hard, you just want to run away. You just want to go to a beach, just escape, hear the water, hear the waves. And this whole book is about rest. It's about teaching us to slow down. And I don't think that there's enough books about there about rest because we
Yeah.
need it so badly. We need to be reminded constantly
Mm.
to rest. So, a little bit about you. You live in England. You co founded the Space Miscarriage and Infertility Network, which holds
Hmm.
space for people struggling with infertility, loss, and how that intersects with their faith.
Hmm.
And you also have published books and are a regular host on the Crowd Church's podcast, What's the Story? So you are you have your hands in a lot of things. You know, you're very talented in marketing and communications, and also you've struggled a lot with secondary infertility and
Hmm.
loss. And we've talked about those things. Um, you said you wrote this book right when you were becoming a mom, a first time
Hmm.
mom. Tell me about how this book came to be as a first time mom, and then we'll get into 3 ways that God is our rest.
Okay, great. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I wrote this book when I was becoming a new mum for the first time. This is going back about 10 years ago now when I was first drafting some of this content. And yeah, it was really my reflections in real time on not coming at it from an expert, like, oh, I'm so good at this rest thing. I know how to do it. I've got this down. It wasn't that at all. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm a new mum. I'm like working as a marketing professional. I've got a busy life. I've got church commitments, and now I've got family commitments, and having a new baby, a young child in the house, a toddler in the house. It's a lot, right? And so this book was very much written from that point of view, like me wrestling in real time with God about how does it look to live in your rest and to have a restful life when you're in the middle of a really busy season. And let's face it, when you're a mother, you're parenting, you're caring for littles, you're fostering, whether they're birth children or they're adopted. Like it's a lot, right? It's life doesn't look easily restful. And I was like, God, there has to be a way to get rest into my everyday ordinary life. And so as much as called Sand between your toes. And we talk about, oh, it's so nice to go away on holiday to the beach, somewhere hot, somewhere different, where I can put my feet up. That's not really reality for most of us parents, right? Most of the time. And so this book is really my reflections on how does it look to live in God's everyday rest in my normal, ordinary, everyday life? And it's really just my reflections and wrestlings on that with scripture. And so that's what it is. And it's a collection of devotionals and reflections on little scriptures that you can dip into and out of when you're a busy parent. That will just kind of be nuggets of truth about how to live in that rest every day. So yeah.
It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful experience. I think I I read it probably before the summer, but just when you're experiencing such a cute little book and like you said, the nuggets of truth,
Mm,
it becomes a whole experience. It's not just about what you're reading, but what you're feeling and how,
mhm,
okay, she's teaching me to rest. She's relatable. And I definitely felt that it was relatable. The first thing we're going to talk about is how God is not in a hurry. You have this chapter called Guard Your Heart.
mhm.
And you may think about guarding your heart in one way, but I feel like you took the chapter and you used it to kind of teach me that we have to process our emotions and we have to process our disappointments, hurts, and
Mhm.
offenses as they happen instead of shelving it until later. And what I took that to mean was that guarding our heart is dealing with the things that we don't want to deal with. So,
Mhm.
talk to me about that and talk to me about how God is not in a hurry like we are to go and rush to the next thing. He is there for us as we are processing these things that happen to us. So instead of shoving them aside, how do we process them in a timely manner?
Yeah. So for me, this chapter, or this little section, was based on Proverbs 4. You know that proverb that says, "Guard your heart above all else," because it determines the course of your life, or it's wellspring of life, depending on what translation you look at. And for me, it was all about this idea that I started to notice that when I wasn't taking time to look at the state and condition of my own heart and taking time out for me to reflect and look at how I was doing, how I was feeling, even in the small things, and process the day well. When I wasn't taking that time out to reflect myself with God, what I was finding was that all of these little annoyances, frustrations that build up, build up, build up through the day, and they happen a lot, especially when you're parenting, don't they? These kind of little frustrations through the day, the kids aren't doing what you want them to do, like especially with, your kids are being difficult, they're not behaving how you want them to, little offences, little frustrations, and all of those things can build up and up through the days, and one day adds to another, and all these things, and suddenly you find that, or maybe this is just me, but this is how I am anyway, that those things build up, and I don't process them in real time in the moment or at the end of the day, and they build up and they build up, and suddenly I find myself seemingly out of nowhere flying off the handle at my husband or at my son, and I just think, that was like out of proportion in terms of the reaction to what actually just happened. And what I found was, when I really self-reflected, was, yeah, I'm not reacting out of just that moment, but it's all these little things that I've allowed to build up. And so it was for me, guarding your heart is actually, I started to reflect on what that meant. And for me, it was like guarding my heart was looking after my heart and living out of a place of wholeness and wellness, moment by moment, day by day. So it was a lot about spending a little bit of time dealing with things in the moment, or if it can't be done in the moment because there's kids around, just taking a few quiet minutes at the end of the day to just go, okay, what was good about today, God? What was bad? Let's give it all up to you and let it all go and start again tomorrow. And not allowing those things to just build and build up and build up and become, 'cause sometimes the small things can become really big things, can't they, when we don't deal with them. And we see that in relationships, we see it in lots of places in life. And so that chapter was really about that. It was about doing that regular check on, just that regular check on how you're doing, how you're feeling with God, and yeah, and just kind of processing things properly. Yeah, really important.
I have a journal app on my phone, and sometimes when I'm in that moment and I can tell, like, okay, I'm a little bit mad at this person. I'm a little bit annoyed about this,
Mm,
and I'm a little bit sad about this. And it's not enough to be overwhelming, but because there's just so many little things, sometimes it helps me just to sit down and get that journal app out and just be like, I'm mad about this. I'm sad about this.
yeah,
I'm worried about this. I don't know what I'm doing for dinner. And because those things affect how we treat other people.
sure.
So, like, if we're caretaking and we are putting others' needs above our own, we're not going to verbally say, well, I'm annoyed about this, or I'm nervous about this, or
Mm,
my um, friend reached out to me with a hard question. And so we have all these things going on, but
mm,
the little person that we're dealing with has no idea. And in order for us to respond well to them and meet their needs, we
mm,
have to, like you said, guard our hearts, check our hearts, and take care of our hearts because our little
yeah,
people are not going to take care of all of those things for us and that they're not supposed to,
no.
but God is. That's his job.
Yeah, and the thing that I found is if you're not brave enough and just organized enough to kind of deal with those hurts and disappointments and little offenses and little frustrations sort of as they happen or day by day, if you're constantly shelving it for a later date, I find that that date actually never comes. I never get around
Yeah.
to doing it because there's always something better to do, isn't there?
Oh,
But
yeah.
actually what I'm learning is, that actually those things really do shape the person you're becoming and the person, your behavior and how you respond in those pressure moments. And so it matters. Yeah.
Hmm. So, talking about God is not in a hurry, you say on page 73 that we treat our lives as if it's a race to arrive at these next destinations. And you say, but when my journey to each of these destinations unfolded far more slowly and indirectly than I expected, I began to realize that God was more concerned with how closely I traveled with him than in
Mm,
how fast I arrived. So we're walking with God. He knows what's going to happen, He knows
mm.
what's next. We don't. We have these high expectations. And how have you changed in your relationship with God to like walking with Him slowly rather than I'm going to achieve this and my family will be perfect and we're not going to have any issues and this is what's going to happen
Yeah.
next year, blah blah blah.
Yeah. So it's definitely a process, and I wouldn't say I have it all sorted, but for me, I think it was a real learning process when we were going through a season of struggling to conceive and secondary infertility and just kind of that idea of waiting. Like, we're not good at waiting as a culture, are we, as a whole? Like, our society, most things are immediate. We have 24 access to the internet. We're consumers. We just decide we want something and we can get it instantly by ordering it on Amazon, right? And everything's very quick. And so this idea that, we have to wait and that good things take time, that's a very biblical principle. Like, you see it all the way through the Bible, and that's the way God often deals with his people. So you look at the Israelites, and they did it took them 40 years of being in the wilderness to do a journey that physically, in terms of distance, they could have covered in 20 days.
Oh
And
gosh.
that's like, that doesn't make sense to our human minds, does it? But that is how God works through his people, because he's less interested, in a sense, in how quickly we get to the destination, if there is such a thing. And he's more interested in kind of who we're becoming along the process. And so, yeah, God's interested in the journey and the process more than the destination and the outcome often
Hmm.
in our lives.
Hmm.
And, that's a very different way of thinking. It's countercultural, isn't it? Like, we don't think like that in culture at the moment. Everything's a race to arrive, like you say. But actually, if the point of life is not to arrive at the next thing, at the next thing, at the next thing, but it's actually to become more of the person God's created us to be, then it gives you a different perspective. And so, yeah, life isn't sort of a race to arrive. And when you can grasp that, actually, that kind of constant striving and pressure and wanting to be somewhere else and get somewhere, and the frustration that comes with not getting somewhere, or, a perceived destination you want to get to as quickly or as easily as you might think, that doesn't matter so much. And we don't tie ourselves in knots trying to be something or get somewhere that we think we should be, when actually it gives you a permission, doesn't it, I guess, to rest in where you are today and just
Hmm.
be where you're at sometimes, and just to trust God in the moment and in the place where he has you right now, even if that's not where you ideally want to be. And that was something I learned a lot about during my season of infertility, and I'm sure you could reflect on yours as well, Kim. And there's a lot about learning to wait and just be and be present. And yeah, and I don't think that's just for that season. I think there's lots of seasons in life where that's just really helpful perspective.
Hmm. Being present is a big one. Just as oh man, you said so many good things. I'm having a hard time picking because that is all just like such good stuff because we need that so badly. We need to be present. And um I think about how much better things are when we have waited for it, or when we have um, focused on who we are in the becoming and in the walking with God. So, like, for example, you have a project, and if you just want to get that project done, it's all about completion. You can do it quickly, but the quality, the immersion of, oh, let me think about it this way, and let me spend a few hours researching so that I can really get this part right. I mean, if you're in a hurry, you're not going to spend the time immersing yourself. And really, you have to immerse yourself in a project to really put your whole heart into it. But we don't want to do that. We want to have it be done. So for me to slow down and invite God into the process of, I feel you calling me to do this project. I want to do it well, but I don't want to be distracted by my phone. I don't want to be distracted by obsessing over getting this done, that I ignore my other people in my life. So help me to stretch this, help me to immerse it, and also help me to pray through it. He, like, if he's calling me to do something with my gifts and talents and creativity, then he wants to help me through it and show me the next step and give me wisdom and give me joy because I'm expressing myself through that project. And if I just am in such a hurry to get it done, I'm not fully wholeheartedly the project. It's just going to be check and then move on to the next. So the goal is to slow down and just do a little bit of like bathing more in the process because people don't do that anymore and they're not expecting me to do it. They're expecting me to produce, but I want to enjoy the process. I want to enjoy the relationship. And I've gotten a lot of joy just by doing things that I feel like God is calling me to do and by enjoying the whole process from beginning to end, the relationship, the slow build of growing in like one-on-one interaction with people, because that is rare as well. Building those relationships, there's so much beauty there. And that's what God is all about. Like, he's not in a hurry to just be like, oh, I want you to make that connection so you can do that project and then you're never going to talk to them again. No, I want you to make that connection because you guys are both so beautifully creative, and look at the magic that can happen when you collaborate, and just let me live through you guys. And if I can slow down and do that, it could be really beautiful.
Yeah, and there's the depth that comes with taking time over things. Like, things that are hurried don't tend to be deep, do they? They tend to be quite surface. And I always reflect on the way God works in our lives, and he's not in a hurry with us, is he? He's transforming us to be more in the image of Christ and more Christ-like in our lives. And that is a lifetime of work. Like, none of us are going to get this side of heaven, right? But bit by bit, he changes us, he transforms us, he makes us more into the people we were created to be. And, I feel like he's so patient
Mm-hmm.
and slow and not in a hurry in his work in our lives. And so why do we behave like that with each other or with ourselves? Like, we should have more grace for each other and for ourselves, because God has a lot of grace for us. And the things he's interested in are things like character, and character is formed slowly, bit by bit. You can't hurry your way to a great character, can you? Like,
Mm.
the things that really matter and are lasting and eternal can't be like rushed off. So yeah.
I wish we could order those off of Amazon.
Yeah.
I'd be like filling my cart with, yeah, a little bit of patience, a lot of peace, and some
Bit more
sand
fruit of
between
the
my
spirit.
toes.
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
more. I'll take more fruit. Thank you for listening to another episode of Book Therapy. For all the details about the author, the book, and what we talked about today, please see the show notes. As always, if you enjoy this podcast, please leave us an honest review on Spotify or Apple. This helps get the word out. And even better, if you know of a foster adoptive family and you think this episode will encourage them, go ahead and send them a text, because not only will it brighten their day, but it will give them another resource, another tool as they are doing the hard work of loving and serving vulnerable children. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you next time.